Cheers, though. Let's get into it. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, so we can really talk about anything. Obviously, we're going to talk about Aurory, talk about the Daory, the council. Is there a difference between being in the Daory and being in the council? Do those two things mean the same thing?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the Daory, it means you own at least one Aurorian, right?
Yeah.
That automatically makes you become a member of the DAO. Being on the council means you've been elected onto by the community who own Aurorians, and you are then on the Daory Council, right? The Daory Council is in charge of managing managing the funds of the DAO. These funds, however, can only be managed through a voting system that the community must approve.
How does the voting system work exactly?
So essentially, each Aurorian means a vote. First an idea is either pushed by the council or a member of the community. It can be someone who literally only owns one Aurorian and has a great idea. That must then reach at least 20 votes in the community in order to then be taken a little more seriously. Once that's done, a formal proposal is made, which is a draft on a document. And if that kind of is approved by the council as not being, nefarious or illegal or things like that, then we push it towards a formal on-chain vote where each member gets to vote with their Aurorians, whether they're staked or not, listed or not, they get to vote with them. Either with a yes or a no. All of this is on-chain. There must be a certain quorum met, so at least 500 votes must be pledged, and they must be at least 80% yes for it to pass. Now, as votes go up, so 600, 700, 800, 900, quorum also increases in a linear way.
Okay, so the initial voting is done off-chain. Where's that voting done? Is it done on like Discord?
Directly on Discord.
Okay, and then once the proposal reaches 20, then it's taken more seriously, and then I'm assuming it's done somewhere in Web3.
Mm-hmm.
How's that part work? Because I've had an Aurorian for a while. I've actually never voted on anything yet.
So in the am I still in the group? Yeah. In Aurory, you'll have channels where it's proposals, where you can also see proposal discussion or ongoing proposals.
When you say in Aurory, what do you mean?
Like in the Aurory Discord.
On the Discord, okay.
Yeah. And when you go on proposals, you have a bunch of them: dowry, brandification, distribution 50% of income, egg prize, etc., etc., etc. Each of these will have a certain amount of votes. Thumbs up, thumbs down. This is what we call at least the non-official voting. This is just to kind of filter out the kind of bland suggestions sometimes that can happen, right?
Yeah, some like meaningless proposals.
Exactly. You can have proposals give away all funds to all holders, right? And liquidate the whole DAO.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Well, actually, that proposal almost passed, or
I know.
Yeah.
Wait, that was a real proposal? How long ago was that?
Yeah, I think it was the second proposal ever, because the first proposal we proposed to basically kind of like as a test, we were going to distribute, I think, seven or it was to all holders, just to kind of see how the voting system, if it works and if these distributions work, etc. And then after that was passed, and after all of that kind of was paid out to the holders, there was someone from the community who said, you know what, let's just distribute everything to everyone right now. And of course, a lot of people were like, you know what, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, because it means more money for us. But I think in the end, at least, most of the people still kind of voted no, and I don't even think it met like the required quorum we needed to kind of pass something. But we definitely did still get quite a bit of support for that. But indeed,
such
people
a
can they can literally indeed make any kind of proposal, and then people can vote on it. Yeah, so
that's such a silly
it's really
proposal for it
yeah.
to just. Because imagine there's 10,000 Aurorians. Even if like they gave up the whole $100 million like chest, it's like individually divided by 10,000. That's really not that much.
No, but go explain basic math to some people.
Yeah, but
You know,
but also this is of course still different because the 100 million chest is from the team itself, and you always have to kind of differentiate the DAO and the team itself. Like we both have our own treasury, so that the team has their own treasury from the IDO where they raised the funds. That indeed was like about 100 million. I think now they're maybe at 70 or 75 or something, which is something totally different from what the dowry is. The dowry are funds, they come from other sources. I mean, like it didn't come from an IDO. It basically came. Part of it were mint funds. Like basically, I think we got 10% of all the money they raised from the mint that went into our treasury. We got secondary sales, the royalties, which was quite a bit of money early on, but of course lately with like the whole 0% royalty meta, it kind of like that income kind of disappeared. And then the majority of our income right now is basically we get allocations from the ecosystem token, which is Aurory. Every month we get like a certain amount of distribution, and that is actually right now our largest kind of part of our treasury. And then also in the future, we are looking at a percentage of the revenue that Aurory kind of gets from the sales on their marketplace, like mostly NFTs and X and collectibles and stuff. That's also something that the DAO will get a percentage from that. So those are kind of like the main kind of sources of income for our treasury, which is indeed something completely different than what the team has.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Are your numbers public? Like, would I be able to look up how much money you guys have in the treasury?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I could even send you the wallet address right now.
How much is in there right now?
Let me look that up for you.
It's gonna be somewhere between 700 and 900K or something, I think.
Oh, that's quite a bit
Dollars.
actually. Yeah, that's more than I expected.
It was at nearly 10 million in the
Pre-crash.
pre-crash. We're
Yeah, that's
currently
why sometimes it's safer to just convert into USDC and just hold for a while. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that happens. So I guess follow-up questions for you guys, right? So these two next questions kind of go hand in hand. So one, why did you guys join the Aurory Council? And two, like, what is the exact point of the Aurory Council?
very good questions, and I'll let Joenaes start.
Yeah, let me start. Okay.
How to deflect?
Not at all.
Well, okay. I'll maybe first talk about how I get into Aurory itself. Basically, Aurory, I think, was my first. No, it was my second NFT that I ever bought. First, I bought the Degen Ape, but it was basically a couple of my friends who messaged me. Like, I'm actually part of like some kind of investing group with a couple of long-term friends of mine, and usually we mostly invest in stocks, but also in crypto. And they, were talking about NFTs. And in the beginning, of course, we all thought, NFTs, they're a scam. It's just some stupid picture or whatever. Like we saw these monkeys being traded for like hundreds and thousands of dollars. But then, like one of my friends who I actually really respect, he said, you know what? I think there's actually something to it. And like he was talking about this gaming project, Aurory, and I had a look at it. I started reading the documents, the white paper, and I thought, you know what? Actually, this does make sense. And I suddenly kind of went down the rabbit hole. And one moment, I decided, like, you know what? I think indeed, like this can get very big in the future. You know what? I'm going to secure a bag and buy up some Aurorians, and that's what I did. And I made a pretty sizable investment into it, and then like at this point, like the DAO wasn't even like it didn't really. I mean, the DAO was it was mentioned in the white paper, but there was nothing like proposals, discussions, council, like none of that was even like it didn't even exist yet. So then, after some time, I guess we started, kind of discussing about, kind of founding this DAO, so to say, and we were like, I'm actually not 100% sure anymore how the process exactly went, but I know at one point we had an election, for a council, and that council would be able to kind of organize and the other treasury and kind of start taking charge into building this DAO up from scratch, because even at that point we didn't really know like what that was going to be or what we could do, etc. But we just kind of knew that, what, some people need to kind of put in some time and effort to kind of set up the infrastructure and kind of think how to move forward from this. And I just wanted to be a part of this because, I mean, first of all, it was all pretty new. Like nobody really knew what to do, so it was quite challenging in that regard. Like it was going to be fun to kind of start something where nobody really knows kind of like what to expect from it. Also, secondly, I think it was a little bit to kind of secure my investment. Maybe like I thought, like, what, if I have a bit more say about all these funds, I think there will be a better chance that maybe this will be doing well than if I like if someone else takes that place that maybe I don't really know or trust. I guess like those two things were the main reason for me in the beginning. I'm not sure. Like what your thoughts are, Nikki, or if you have some follow-up questions.
By the way, Cipher, Joenaes is one of the biggest whales of Aurory.
Oh, I'm well aware. He has what, 135 Aurorians right now,
and counting.
Like that.
And if you calculate that just based on floor price, that's almost 4,000 SOL worth of Aurorians, and pretty close to, even at Solana's price right now, close to like 100,000. So
yeah,
it's quite the investment. Quite the investment in Aurorians. How many?
I think his profile picture alone is 4,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I'm just going off of the floor prices. So, how much do you? I'm assuming you kept track of how much money you spent, or at least in terms of Solana, how much you spent on your whole collection.
Yeah, I do, although I don't have the numbers with me right now, but I mean, actually all my Aurorians are actually placed under like a legal entity, so I did like some accounting, etc., and like everything is kind of valued relatively correctly, but I am not entirely sure how much it is.
You have a rough number?
You know what? If you give me a minute, I can look it up, because right now I really have no idea.
You're going through a wound right now.
I want to know what.
It definitely went down a lot. Let's.
Yeah, I mean, I care more about the
that.
Solana number, like in denominations
Yeah.
of Solana, because of course it went down in terms of like USD, right? But as long as like the floor price didn't change too much, like or like. Then I guess you're okay if you're gonna hold off anyways. Then that's a good way to cope, right? It's like at least it's still worth like 30 Solana.
I think, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, you are probably break even in Sol.
Yeah, I think in Sol I might actually be up.
You might even be up.
Yeah, I think my average buy price, even with like the 4 or 5 like very rare ones that I have, I think I was around 23, 24 Sol.
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
yeah, you're fine.
And that's excluding like the ultra rares that honestly he's got some grails that would go for 1,000 SOL at least, right?
Yeah, so
I mean, hopefully, but indeed, like I did manage to snatch quite a bit, like below 20 and stuff, and of course that adds up pretty quickly then.
Yeah, I mean, if you're up in terms of Solana, then in theory, if you just sold everything now and just waited, you'd be up. In theory, so you're in a good position. And I think I don't want to give too crazy of a price prediction, but in a few years, I don't think Aurorians are going to be sitting at 25, 30 Solana. I feel like the floor price will probably hover around like 60, 70 for a while.
I think I hate price predictions.
Yeah, that's why mine is always a very, very rough price prediction. Like a few years from now, it might double, but that's not even in terms of like actual cash value.
take a comparison that we can make, right? Today, the only comparison you can make of gaming in Solana with the same amount of assets is Claimsaurs,
Yeah.
right? Claimsaurs are a great project. I love what they're doing. I think they have amazing assets. And I'm not trying to justify what I'm about to say, but they're at pretty much what, a 70, 80 floor price?
Yeah. Just about,
That
yeah,
is
just closer to 70.
exactly. And that's a project that has not delivered a game yet, that doesn't really have a proof of concept, that is generally valued at that price because there are very, very high expectations. Now, if they meet them, they can skyrocket, but if they don't, they're gonna plummet. Aurory today is in quite a niche place because they have a playable game. They have literally concrete evidence of their work. They have a big war chest, they have a community, but the problem for now is the interest in Web3 gaming, not just Aurory, but Web3 gaming as a whole, is down. And when you are a project that is, and we already know what they've delivered, right? So people already know that the speculation part of it is somewhat off for now, right? And it's tricky behavior that investors can have, which is the moment they know what the outcome is, even if it's the best possible one, they will sell because for them that is the moment that the hype is gone, right? It is very often the case in stocks, NFTs, coins, whatever it is, right? The outcome does not always correlate the price, but rather getting to the outcome is what can fuel the price. And so for floor price, I mean, would it be wrong to assume that Aurory is older, first of all, right? That's very important, and has accomplished more than other projects, yet is at a lower floor price. Does that mean that the price should be higher? Yes and no. So floor price prediction, I mean, if we take Sol at a value of $20, probably 100, 120. But if Sol suddenly is worth $500 each, then I mean, should Aurorians really be 50K each?
Fair point.
Right? So
Yes, they should.
I mean, so it's kind of dancing with the price of Sol, the liquidity in the market, and the expectations of investors. That's the hardest thing, right? Compare it to CSGO, there are very few knives sold or stuff like that, and they sell for 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, right? But those are sold because there are collectioners and manipulators who want to get them, right? As for Aurorians, yeah, I see a world where they're averagely worth about the same. It won't be manipulators just because there are too many publicly visible on the market, which is what lacks in gaming. You can actually trace everything through the blockchain, whereas you cannot on normal gaming. But therefore, I would see a world where each Aurorian is about $10,000.
Yeah, I can see that world too, because that is when Degen Ape peaked at their floor price. Do you remember around what price that was? I believe it was
79.
How much was it?
Around 79, and the highest candle was around 90, I believe, for a few minutes.
Yeah, so that's a good. You can go.
And that was in like the time period where Sol was 150, 200. So
Yep.
they were worth about 15 to 20K for floor. So it was definitely
I mean, the
quite
highest was
pricey.
SMBs.
Yeah.
SMBs were at 200 something, and
Yeah.
right, and the floor price of Solana was at 250 or 240. It was.
What do you guys think of SMB? By the way, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't want to get too sidetracked. I usually for these discussions, I never really have a game plan. I did not think we would be talking about floor prices though, or SMB. But since we are talking about SMB, what do you guys think of the project? If you have any thoughts, if you don't, then it's whatever.
I'm split.
Yeah, I'm split too.
Like SMBs have this they have this real, OG vibe. They've been doing a lot of good in terms of creating a more structured and um, organized DAO, right? They have provenance, they have origins, and they have a story. I buy into that. Um, their actions have not always been the best. There has been a few bad apples in there. And the whole slow rug of the developers, yada yada yada, right? That of course did not help at all. Um, so for me, I still view them as a blue chip, as something I will hold for the long term. Um, I do not see that as an investment. I believe that today, if I buy an SMB, it will most likely go down in value with time. However, I would buy one for the lore, the history that SMB holds. My own very personal opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I also would put SMB as a blue chip. I have 3 Solana blue chips right now. So Deep, Aurory, and then SMB. Those are the only 3. I know like
Sorry.
a year or two, like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, like Thugbirds could have been in there, Galactic Geckos could have been in there. But those I don't think they stood the test of time really. And maybe in a few years I'll be wrong. But the thing about SMB, they have such a strong community. And even though they don't own their IP, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have such a strong community that I feel like that alone makes them a blue chip. I think that's one of the most important aspects of any NFT collection, right? The community is huge. I feel like they're all like diamond hands too. I never really like you go on that Discord and they're just so sure. They're just so sure of like the future of SMB, even with all the negatives, even with like the slow rug pull you mentioned. So for that reason, to me they're still a blue chip. Is it something I would invest in? No, I wouldn't. What's the floor price now? 200 Solana. Like I would rather spread that across Aurorian and Degenape than buy one SMB. But that's just like personal risk assessment.
Pretty much.
Joe, you have any thoughts on SMB?
I mean, not really. I mean, like, I think my thoughts actually align pretty much with both you guys. I mean, also like recently with like the whole, I don't know, like the whole thing with the hates and the IP transfers and stuff. I haven't really been very much up to date, but I do indeed agree that, like what you were saying about community, like still like after all these things, like they still have such a strong community. I personally also feel like it's a bit too risky right now, but I can definitely see the value still. Like one of the things that I really like is I actually hold I actually held an SMB for quite some time. I did sell it in the end, but the reason why I was holding it, or like the reason why I bought it in the first place was because they have this thing called Monkey Ventures, where you can basically, if you own an SMB, you can be part of like entering in seed rounds. Basically, certain companies, they kind of go to SMB and say, you know what, we like to raise some money. And then if you have an SMB, you're actually you can be part of these rounds, which I thought was very interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I bought it. But then those rounds, I mean, I did look into quite a few of them, but I always thought their valuations were like absolutely insane. So,
yeah.
So I never really bought into it, but I thought the concept of that was still very cool and something quite unique, and also something that maybe we should pursue as a dowry at some point as well. But since I didn't really get any value from that because I never entered these rounds because I thought, the prices were just way too high, I just ended up selling it after all of the recent like news and stuff as well. But yeah, that's about my opinion about it.
Since we are talking about other collections, right? What do you guys think sets Aurory apart from other NFT collections? Like whether those collections are on Ethereum, Solana, any other block. I mean, those are really the only 2 relevant blockchains, but any other blockchain, right? What do you think? Like, Why are you so bullish on Aurory and not these other collections?
Okay, that's a great question. And like, I work in Web3 gaming. So literally, my job is to know most of the games out there. Um, so I've seen my fair share. There are great quality projects. Illuvium on Immutable X, Cross the Ages. You've got Star Atlas DAO that had high hopes. Big Time. All of these. All of these games, for me, and this is strictly personal as a gamer, lacked one key thing, and that was storytelling and lore. I'm a deep believer that games need to convey emotions to their users. They need to have a significant meaning that someone can, in any way, attach themselves to in the game. Everyone loves Crash from Crash Bandicoot. Everyone loves Ash from Pikachu. Those were idols, and they could resonate with them. In Aurory, there was the main character. There was a storytelling literally about Web3. I mean, the whole lore of Aurory is about why Bitcoin came to life, how it separated the classes, and how literally cryptocurrencies allowed for a better way of distributing in some way access to financial tools. And all of this is hidden behind neat little storytelling tricks and lore, and I find that insanely captivating. And I've not been able to see that in any other project. All of them have their own universe, which is great. But I just resonated with that because I went through Web3. I started in 2016, Joe even earlier, but it touched base somewhere for me.
What year did you say you started?
I started in 2016. Joe, I think it's 2013, 14?
Yeah, 13, I think, is when I bought my first Bitcoin.
Yeah, no
So,
wonder
a
Joe
long time
has
ago.
no wonder Joe's such a fucking whale. He started in 2013.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't ask me how many Bitcoins I used to have, or I will start crying again.
Man,
I mean,
those
Joe paid a pizza 50 Bitcoin, so.
those are the worst conversations. Right when I think I was still in, so I graduated college 2020. I think I was still in college or maybe just fresh out of college when I bought like 1 million Dogecoin for like maybe $2,000. And obviously if I held, that would have been like $750,000 or something. But I sold it the same day because I made like 50% return or something. So I hate having those like what if conversations. What if I held? What? So I couldn't imagine if I got into crypto in 2013 and that would hurt.
Can I piss you off?
Yeah.
Not me.
Right.
I'm fine. Joe might be a little.
No. I bought Dogecoin in 2016 with my summer salary from doing a small internship, and I completely forgot about it.
Wow.
Luckily, in 2021, I got a call from my dad telling me, "Yo, weren't you talking to me about that dog coin thingy?" I'm like, "What the? Yeah? Why?" He's like, "Yeah, I just saw it on TV." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's like booming and shit." I'm like, "What the fuck?" And so, thank God, I had the same PC as I had in 2016 because I did not fucking know how to store a seed phrase and I had no clue where it was. And I had the same password that I did back then. And so I simply logged in and I noticed, oh, fuck. Well, that did a 1,000, 2,000 something X. And that is how I got back into Web3 after being burned in the 2017 crash.
Dude, I love hearing stories like that. It's so funny.
How much money was that, if you don't mind sharing?
I will tell you, I bought for $400 worth of Dogecoin.
Oh, and then you ended up I'm assuming low six figures?
What's low for six figures in
200K or so?
I sold super early. I sold with like in 50% bags. I sold my first one when it was at 0.015, and sold it all the way until 0.5. So in total, I can tell you, because I lost most of it, so that's fine. I think it was somewhere between the $500,000.
My God. And you said you
That's
lost most of
insane.
it?
Oh yeah, lessons were learned in a bear market.
When you say lost, do you mean like actually lost, or or are you still holding coins that depreciated in value?
Oh yeah, I mean like poor trading. I was not equipped to have that kind of. I didn't even understand it, right? I got huge L's, right? Like we're talking in a day 50% wipe, right? Because I didn't know how to trade. I knew how to trade normal stocks. I had no clue how to trade this kind of shit, and I didn't know how to offboard it or off ramp it. It was new to me. Having that much, I was playing with much smaller sums.
I feel like it's part of the process, right? Maybe it's a cope, but so I am not wealthy yet, right? But I think I will be one day. So I always think about it. I'm like, I feel like before you make like your first million, you have to take a crazy loss first, and then you learn so much from that loss. Like I accrued a lot of wealth last bull run, but I gave it right back to the market. So I know this time around, I actually have exit strategies on how to like strategically exit my investments. Like I have the
Usually it takes
first
two.
two bull runs. Yeah, I mean, I understand why. The first bull run, I was like, I thought I was a genius. I'm like, dude, I'm the smartest person on the fucking planet. Like this, I'm like, what? I made this much money in like a few months doing nothing, just buying like Ethereum. Crazy. But now I'm actually gonna have a actual exit strategy, and hopefully, I don't know if I'll hit. I don't know if I'll hit that million mark next bull run, but two bull runs from now, I have a good feeling about that.
Yeah. Usually the first bull run for me, 2017, didn't know how to exit. It was very small amounts, right? Got crashed. Second one, I got greedy because I understood it, but didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was blessed with a secondary small pump in December, learned my lesson, exited a bunch, and fell a bit down with a falling knife. But I've got a few very, very funny stories about the bull run of 2021, where from one ETH I woke up the next morning was 150. That
Jeez.
one was a good one. Oh, and I sold for 1.5 ETH at the end.
Damn.
Yep.
So since we are talking prices right now, right? Are you short term bullish or short term bearish? And I mean short term, let's say 3 to 9 months from now.
I mean,
Or are
the
you
thing
guys
is,
just not even trading?
I don't trade, honestly. I DCA. I'm not good at it, and I've accepted that. So I just DCA, and when there are big pumps, I just know that there is always a small retrace, and based on sentiment, but I only I trade 10%, 20% of my holding, and then all the rest I don't touch. It's actually in a vault,
Are
which I
you
cannot.
DCing into just Solana, or are you doing Bitcoin, ETH, Sol?
Mm, it's like 80% in top five of coins and 20% in NFTs, alts.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
I DCA in the beginning um so like after I exited in the last bull run, I started DCAing ETH, BTC, Matic, and Sol. These were when Sol was about $50-$60. I got burned with Luna. That was dumb of me.
Oh man.
It's part of the trade. And once I was done acquiring what I wanted in those sectors, then I started DCAing, for example, a lot more into Aurory, into Aurorians, into other plays that I do, where I see store of value long term, because every bull run always starts with Bitcoin, ETH, and then it trickles down, right?
Yep.
So that's how I see it, always.
No, I think DCing here is like an obvious play, especially with Sol hovering at like less than $25, right? Even if it just goes to an all-time high again and that's it, that's still a 10x. Like it's almost a no-brainer to DCA from here. Personally, I'm not doing it yet. Like so this last year, I kind of wasn't really too into crypto. Like I was obviously keeping up with it, but I wasn't really that active. I was working on a lot of like IRL stuff. So like I just recently graduated college. I'm like, it's time to get like an actual like professional job, work on this type of stuff, think about plan A, plan B, plan C, all that type of stuff, right? So right now I'm in like the capital. I'm like trying to accrue capital. And I feel like we'll probably have at least one more really big, I guess we can call it a retracement. Like I think I think we can see Solana under $10 again in a few months. Maybe like I think it'll go on. I think it'll go single digits before it skyrockets again. So that's really what I'm waiting on right now. Is hoard as much cash as I can until I see single digit Solana. And then if Sol is single digits, Bitcoin and ETH are going to be down too. So it can redistribute everywhere. What were you saying?
So that's a sentiment pretty much everyone has, I think, me included, by the way. Historically, when everyone has called for something to go lower or higher, it does the opposite.
Yeah, right? But there's so I agree with that sentiment too. But there's so like the macro conditions just look so bad right now. Like, did you like all the regional banks today were down like 30%, something crazy. Inflation's the highest it's ever been. Consumer credit card debt is increasing month over month over month, literally breaking all-time highs. So the highest credit card consumer debt ever happened this month, and the month before it also happened, and the month before that it also happened.
And that's scary for bond markets, but is that not why cryptocurrency was created?
Yeah, but the thing is there's too much correlation, I think, between the markets, right? So it's like
I agree.
I think if banks fail, right? Like we see a bank collapse, then people are buying crypto and then crypto shoots up. But if people are just losing money everywhere, they're going to be forced to sell their crypto because now they need liquidity.
I agree, but it's not retail that makes up for the trillions of dollars, right? Retail doesn't move Bitcoin price by 10K. It's huge institutions. So it's not you and me not knowing where to put our cash that is going to change a damn thing on the scale. What will change, I mean, the stock market is what, $150 trillion? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency is 1.5 trillion or 1.4, right? So it's not even 1%. So, and the stock market is not 150 trillion from, our US dollars or our euros or whatever. It's from BlackRock, it's from, BNB, it's from all of these ginormous VC firms, all of that. So the thing is, for the first time now, we actually do have kind of a crossing between money having no value, right? It's literally the biggest Ponzi in history, and banks realizing that sure, they can default 100 times, but if money has no value, then even when they get bought out, it still has no value. And it's the first time that all of these kind of issues can cross over into creating kind of why crypto was made in the first place. It's the first time that there is an actual, I keep forgetting the word. There's an actual utility in real world for you to have a clear view of where money is.
And yeah, I feel like if you've ever, so I know you work in Web3. I work in, to keep it really, really broad, I work in finance too. So when you do these interactions, or like even today, for example, I mean, I know you guys aren't American, so it might work a little differently there. I had to, how do I say it? Like, so on our highways, we get paid, we get like bills in the mail and all this, like we get whatever, right? So I had to call them to pay this shit. I couldn't do it online. Like there's zero possibility of me doing it online. I called them. I had to wait on hold for an hour and a half just to give them a debit card number. And I asked them, I'm like, hey, can you send me like the receipt through email? They're like, no, we can't email it to you. But if you want, I can mail you a letter, and then you can fill in the letter, mail it back, and then we will mail you a receipt. And I'm like, dude, this process is just so long. Like everything about it just sucks. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, imagine this was just a smart contract where I got a notification where I have to pay something, and I just paid instantly, and that's it. Like, so if you interact in these worlds, especially in banks, right, everything just takes so fucking long. One wire transfer, 7 to 10 business days, or 5 to 7, whatever business days. So the utility case for crypto is so strong, but that's also why some major banks are already trying to implement blockchain technology. Like I know JP Morgan has their own permissioned coin. So like me and you can't trade it, but they can trade it. I don't know exactly how they're using it, but I know they are using it and developing something along that line. So the utility case for crypto is obviously super strong, right? If I want to send you money across borders instantly, I can literally send you USDC on Solana. It'll be like by the time I click send, you'll receive it in your wallet.
Yep.
But I think we've been talking about too much market stuff for too long. I want to segue back into Aurory and Aurorians and the whole NFT landscape. One question is, so how much influence does the council have on Aurory project? Like just on Aurory in general? Like obviously, votes come in and stuff, but can you propose an idea to them, and like how seriously are they taking like the council's advice?
Honestly, I think they probably. I mean, I don't really think we have much influence over them per se, but if we gather like a lot of, let's say, support from the community as well, like let's say, we have an idea. I think if we go with that idea to Aurory itself, I don't think it will gain that much traction. They'll probably listen to us. They definitely will do that. But I don't think they'll think much of it, to be honest. But if we actually bring it to the community first, and if then, let's say, everybody loves the idea, then I think they'll definitely be much more open to actually implementing something like that. But I don't think right now we have that much power or say over like what they are going to do in the future.
I know it takes a long time to build. It takes a long time to build things and implement them. So I'm assuming they probably already have like a 3 to 5 year game plan of some sort.
Yep.
So intercepting that game plan and trying to suggest something new can be pretty problematic, especially if it messes up like the timeline and has like a butterfly effect. I see so much potential in Aurory because I think the NFTs look fucking cool. The story is nice. Like you said, there's some sort of like emotional feeling you get when you play the game. I think obviously the number one thing is like ease of access, right? Most people don't know what Aurory is, but if they launched let's say like Nintendo 3DS game or like a Nintendo Wii game, then everybody in the world would know what Aurory project is. So I wonder what their thought process or their game plan is on that, because, or if they want to make a movie or something too, right?
I mean, you got to remember that on the team, literally head of all developments is an AAA game legend, right? Johnny has worked on some of the biggest games out there, so it would be naive of us to think that they don't know what they have to do in order to attract the masses, and that's why they are, building a mobile version for literally any one of us to be able to download it in a heartbeat, share a QR code, and you have Aurory. But these things take time, and so it's very interesting that we have to ask those questions, because in a normal game development, you would never ask those questions. You'd be like, oh, okay, the game's coming out in 2 years. We'll be able to do this because they said that. But in Web3, it's this very, very unique case where we get to follow the developments as they go, and they'd have no obligation to, but they do give us small insights along the way. through the form of beta passes, through the form of, storytelling of lore, through the form of prequels to games, prequels to lands, etc., which normally would all drop in one go, right?
Yeah, we do live in a weird world, right, where we feel so entitled to everything. Like I bought two Aurorians, and now I bought two Aurorians, and now I want to literally kind of change the landscape of what they're like. I have so many ideas for this project. I'm super like business minded, super like entrepreneurial. I tried launching a startup in the past, like did this whole thing. Like, so whenever I think about these things, I think super long term, right? I only have two Aurorians and I have a million ideas. And I don't want to say I feel entitled, but I definitely want to share my thoughts, right? But it's like if this was like Call of Duty or Fortnite or like Rainbow Six or something, my thoughts would mean nothing. They would not go anywhere. I wouldn't feel entitled at all. Like I would have zero feeling where I think my voice matters in this, right? But in Web3, it's like everybody feels like everything they say matters. Like one tweet or one Discord message or even one podcast, right? Like we live in such a weird world. I think we take it for granted that we even have like our voices are accessible to the team and they can.
I mean,
and that's a rare thing.
I think people tend to also forget that, especially this new generation and ours included. I mean, I'm 27, so I'm still young, I hope. But
I'm 26, bro. I feel fucking old.
But so, how I came into Aurory, I had one Aurorian, right? And with one Aurorian, I kind of grew to learn the community and I even applied to be a counselor in the first run. I think I had 5 votes or something like that, right? And I was like, okay, clearly, my voice doesn't want to be heard. But I still went at it, and I was like a little more active in the community. And funny enough, I think my first somewhat interaction with Aurory on a bigger scale was when I had a AMA with Joenaes. Literally, we went on his previous podcast that he shut down after what, 2?
True.
How many episodes did you get to? Not to
well, not to discourage you, but I think about the same amount that you are doing right now. I think I was at 3.
Yeah, so this is episode 4. So there's a statistic. 99% of podcasts fail before they hit episode 21. 90% fail before episode 4, I think. So you were part of the 90% if you only had 3.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hit that 21 number and be like, okay, I'm now at least in the top 1%. I might as well keep pursuing this. I might as well keep doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you get there, man. I mean, you need just consistency, really.
Yeah, it's just about consistency. But so basically, I'm on Joe's podcast, and suddenly we've got core members of the team joining in. We've got the CTO who's asking to take the floor. We've got suddenly just important people, right, for Aurory that are there. And that was the first time that I managed to discuss about it and somewhat have a voice. And now I'm not saying that I altered anything. I'm not saying that I was even remotely important, but I managed to get a voice. And through that, I managed to then reach out to different community members. It wasn't such a big barrier, where I was afraid of talking to Joenaes or talking to Auron or talking to any of those people. And with that, then, elections came up and I was elected, and then I was able to do more and more. And I realized, and I found a niche little place where I could contribute. And today, we sometimes have either a call or we're in a group chat with the core team, and we actually can have an impact. And I did that starting with literally one Aurorian, no fucking clue what I was doing in Web3, and probably had no business in being there.
How many votes did you get when you got elected? Just curious.
Oh, I can't remember. I think I got I think I was 9th or 8th. I was like in the bottom last, right?
Yeah, I think you had like 160 or something.
160 maybe, right?
That's not too bad. Okay, because I'm on the fence about running for council because I obviously want to know more about how everything works and like the exact impact. I guess that's another thing too, right? That's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you guys on, is ask a few questions about this. So how much of a time commitment is it for you guys, or is it something you kind of do in your like your spare time? You might open your phone, go on Twitter, see something, make a comment about it, or are you committing like X amount of hours per week to this council?
I mean, like for me, it's very variable. Like it really depends. Like some weeks, like it's literally like several hours. Other weeks, it's a little bit less. Like for example, today we had some calls where we were interviewing, people that were applying for the social media manager position, and we just finished, like 2 hours today, and we have another half an hour scheduled tomorrow. Plus, we had like a meeting. I think, was it earlier this week or was it? Wait,
Yeah.
no, it's already
No,
Wednesday.
no,
So, yeah,
last week.
it was last week. We had a meeting of about 2 hours, and then like in the Discord, we're also still kind of discussing, about the interviews and stuff. So like I think like the last 7 days, I probably spent about like 8-9 hours or something on council related tasks. But some other weeks, like it's a little bit less. It really kind of depends on kind of like what's going on. For example, also I think it was a few months ago when we had the World Cup. Like I kind of organized this little
that was so cool.
like a contest, but like it required quite a bit of my time because I was like writing like reports, and I was basically keeping track of scores and stuff. So like there's like little peaks and valleys in like time that I spend on it. But overall,
that makes sense. Do you what do you?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have a 9 to 5 too? Are you one of us?
I do not. I haven't had a 9 to 5. Well, basically since forever. Like I never really had a job. So.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or do you want to keep it more private?
No, I mean I can definitely elaborate on that. Actually, I wanted to share a story earlier, like when we were talking about buying coins at an early time, and then wait, I will just start from the beginning. I guess I'll just keep it short. Like basically, whenever I graduated,
very quickly, Joenaes has an
incredible.
Okay, 1 second, Joe. Joenaes has an incredible like kind of a memoir, I want to say, that you wrote. I don't remember. I think it was a year ago. And
yeah, I think
it goes through
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes through all of his like arrival onto Web3. I need to find that to you, but it's an incredible read.
Yeah, send that. Yeah, I wish you guys sent that to me earlier. I would have been prepared for this moment. But
go ahead, Joe.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, I can send it later on. So basically, in short, I mean, after I graduated, I studied finance. I got a master in finance, but I never really used my degree. Basically, after graduating, at that time I was playing poker, and I was playing poker kind of professionally, I'd say. Basically, after I graduated, I started to pursue it as a career because, like in my last year of university, I kind of was making more money with poker than I would make, in a starting job in finance. So I was like, you know what, I'll just see how this goes, like try it out for let's say 6 months or so, and then see how that goes. If I can, make substantially more than with another job, I would definitely just continue doing this. And it's kind of what I did for the next 6-7 years or so. Then I kind of got bored from poker, and then I ventured into e-commerce. Basically, I had 2 friends of mine who were also poker players who kind of ventured into e-commerce a few months before that, and they were doing very well. So I'm someone who kind of always kind of like follows the money. I would say, like for example, back like when I graduated, there was like a lot of money in poker, but then it kind of died down, and there was a lot of money in e-commerce. So I kind of started in that direction. This was in 2016, and here comes the crypto story. So back then I already had some bitcoins that I bought earlier, but I didn't have any kind of capital besides that. Like I spent like a lot of my money in Bitcoins, in stocks and stuff. Like I never really held onto a lot of savings. And suddenly I needed this capital to kind of start this business. And my friend said, yeah, probably need about 10K or something to kind of launch a few products and then see how it goes. So yeah, back then I sold some Bitcoins. I sold 50 Bitcoins for $200. And I got my 10K right there. And yeah, then I basically built this business, for like 4 or 5 years, sold it for like 300K or something. But I would have made more money if I just held on to Bitcoins and not did any of the work for those 4 years, which I did not do because I did basically, work like 7-8 hours a day or something on that. But yeah, sometimes you just have to be lucky, I guess.
Moral of the story.
Yeah, no, moral of the story, yeah. No, but actually, I'm actually quite happy I did that because it's also something that I see in a lot of people that actually got rich through crypto, or basically that kind of got rich without having to do anything. If they lose that money, it's going to be very hard for them to kind of actually make it back because they have this kind of sense of entitlement because they didn't have to work and they got rich. And now when, it's gone, they think like, it's going to happen again in the future sometime. I just need to, do this or that. But they never really kind of like, put in like a lot of effort into trying to achieve something. And it's something that I think will be quite hard to recover from people, or like for people that are in that position. But anyways, yeah, after e-commerce, I kind of started doing more like crypto-related things. I basically started like focusing more on like, trying to make money within the crypto space, like apart from just holding, which is what I usually did before. So I tried, trading a bit. Yeah, also didn't really work. I also lost quite some money with that. And now I also never trade again. Because I think it's really hard for like most people to actually make money with trading. It's just it's really hard. Other than that, I was also dabbling into like yield farming with DeFi, which actually went quite well. I definitely made quite some money with that, especially because in the early days they were just 100, 200, 300% yields everywhere, and like you didn't really have to be a genius to. What's that?
What could go wrong with 300% everywhere?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What could go wrong? No, but I mean, like, I was actually putting it in like, because I was basically like, my whole investment thesis, like even up to this day, is kind of like just hold, assets where you have long-term conviction in. And this was the same for me with DeFi. Like I was holding, some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some Solana, and then I was basically just, yield farming, these coins that I would want to hold anyways. And then I would, put them in a pool and then, earn some money through it. And, the yields were just so high at that point because, like you had all these shit coins that you basically get paid out, but you just instantly sell these shit coins and you got your yield for like, relatively low risk. So that worked very well for, I'd say, at least half a year or so. But then, like the yield started dropping. Also, the crypto markets got very volatile. So there was a lot of like impermanent loss and stuff. But at some point, it was definitely very lucrative. And then, after that, I got into NFTs. I haven't really made any money yet with NFTs, but hopefully in the future.
Yeah, and once I learned what impermanent loss was, I stayed away from yield farming and I stayed away from staking. So I know a lot of people like staking and it's relatively safe. You can appreciate your value by 5%. I just think that non-zero chance of impermanent loss happening is not worth 5% of the bag. So I just stay away from staking. I stay away from yield farming. I stay away from all that. One point that you touched on though is how you mentioned a lot of people make a lot of money off crypto and they don't put any work in at all, right? Which I think is one of the number one things. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know who Andrew Tate is, right? That's one of his things. Like one reason he hates crypto. I don't think he hates crypto because he literally uses it. But he always talks about like crypto dorks. He's like, yo, these little kids have no life experience, nothing at all. They bought some random coin, the coin 10,000x. Now they're rich. Now they have no way to go throughout life. Like they're gonna get played by girls. They're gonna have fake friends, whatever. So I think that is a good point. What do you call it? I had a thought there. The entitlement
Yeah, I
thing.
mean,
It's
yeah,
funny.
indeed. Like,
I feel I feel like I'm already rich, even though I'm not. I just feel I like have a strong feeling it's coming eventually, and I don't know if that's the same level of entitlement that somebody who's already rich might have about them not losing any money. Because if they lose it, they're fucked, right? Because they essentially have to gamble, quote unquote, gamble again and hope their wealth appreciates. But I have that same level of conviction. I don't know if it's conviction. I don't know what it is. It's more of like a I don't know. I feel it's coming. I don't know how to describe it.
It's funny
yeah.
if the bull market comes, it's called conviction. If everything goes to shit, it's called disillusion.
Yep.
To touch on
Yeah.
the whole Andrew Tate thing, I mean, first of all, the funniest thing is that more than 50% of people who have bought crypto are losing money right now. So it's kind of easy to go, yeah, all of these crypto kids who are millionaires, first of all, 50% of the people posing to be millionaires on the internet are not, right? The richest are usually not the loudest. First of all, money's like it's like butter. We say in French, money's like butter. The more you spread, the less you really have. And secondly, what Joe was saying is so true. People who do not work for their money have no understanding of what that means. And I think, in all honesty, me losing money, a way too big amount of money from what I made from Dogecoin, is a clear proof of that. I had no business having it. I got just only lucky. And I lost it because in no way, shape, or form did I learn what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
No way, shape, or form. I was lucky, and that is it. Now, idiots will say, oh, but you thought. No, I literally fucking read a pic on 9gag. 9gag was the shit back then, okay? And there was a meme about a dog and how you'll be able to tip with that dog coin $1 because it'll be worth $1. That was their goal. And so I just bought that because that was it. That was stupidity at its finest. Now I got lucky. That's it. That being said, I turned that luck. I took huge losses, and then I worked. I put in thousands of hours, right? And hopefully that pays off. But if it doesn't matter because I would have still learned a lot about it, and it's made me better. Not better, wealthier, but better in knowledge that will eventually make me wealthier.
Yeah. So like to exactly what I was saying earlier, right? I feel like everybody that's eventually got rich, they had to take a major loss and learn lessons through that major loss, which then helped them like accrue wealth later on. I'm literally in the same position as you. I gave back all of my money, all the money I made in the bull run. I gave it back. So if you look at it in like a binary way, it just looks like I just spent all this time and effort and it was for nothing, right? Because I lost it all. I left with essentially nothing. I mean, I was net positive, right? But nothing crazy. Definitely not. If you divided the money I made divided by the hours that I spent, it definitely wasn't a good like ROI. But with that being said, next bull run, with the information that I gained from taking that fucking terrible loss, it'll probably put me in a better position when the bull run ends.
Probably.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll probably
Yeah,
still make mistakes.
Yeah,
you will
mistakes.
definitely still make mistakes. Yeah.
I will. How strategic are you guys when it? Because I know you guys don't trade, right? Are you holding these assets like any like NFTs or just crypto? Do you plan on holding them for like a very long time, or are you exiting partially at a certain price?
Price points. That's it. I literally have I am the most boomer way of doing this. I have an Excel spreadsheet of when I sell. The moment we start getting close to that, I put a sell order and I do not touch it. NFTs for Aurory is the same. I've accumulated a fair few of Aurorians. I also have a few price predictions where I'll take some profit. And that is healthy. That is fine. Because me taking profit will allow a new actor to come in and discover it. I think there's no goal in hoarding, right? There is.
Yeah, I totally disagree. But yeah, continue.
No, but I mean, eventually Joenaes is not going to die with 135 Aurorians, right?
He's gonna die with 300.
But-
yeah, exactly.
But
Cipher knows what's up.
go ahead.
Like what I want to say is, for me personally, I actually have no price points where I plan to exit or anything at all. I basically have assets, and assets for me are things that I believe will generate return, either income or just will go up in value because of how they will be valued in the future. And all the assets that I hold, I believe, are kind of like my the best assets I can hold. Basically, the assets that will give me the most value in the future. And so even if they rise, like I ask myself the question, do I still think that this asset that I'm holding, is it going to provide or like continue giving me value in the future? Then yes. Then no, I'm not selling it. Like even this is going to sound ridiculous to like a lot of people, but like even when Sol was at like 200, I thought that Sol was not overvalued. I thought the technology that Sol had, it's a multi-trillion-dollar kind of infrastructure. I think, like I believe that someday that infrastructure will be worth that much money because just of how it is built. Like it's right now, it's the most innovative blockchain, fastest, cheapest, etc. And I believe that a lot of kind of infrastructure will be built, or like in that time period, I believe that a lot of infrastructure will be built on here because it just makes the most sense. And there are just so many things we can, like so many kind of things we can like put into NFTs, and there's so much value that can be put on chain. Like I really don't see any other kind of market being able to grow at the same rate than this market can grow. Like for example, like earlier, like you were talking about, how the whole banking system, right? Like you have to, mail these things, and like it's like 20 years or 30 years, behind like what we're doing here. And I think the growth that's possible with these things is just so much bigger than a lot of other things that I can think of to put my money in. So I kind of just hold these assets because I do believe that in 10 years from now they are going to be outperformed, or like right now they have a much higher chance of outperforming the market than a lot of other things that I own.
I do
Does that
have
make
one.
sense?
I have one question, Joenaes. How much of your, I guess, portfolio, or maybe net worth might be a better way to phrase it. How much of that is in like crypto / Web3 versus maybe in like traditional investments or like maybe businesses that you're still invested in?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's actually, it used to be a ridiculous amount, like almost like 100%, really. Right now it's not the case anymore, because I mean, also that's something I kind of needed to learn. Like just like you guys, I've also been burned quite heavily in bull bear markets, because mostly because I was just like so into crypto that I didn't really see any value in anything else. Which is, it's very nice during bull markets because, your net worth grows, like 100% every 2 months. But of course, during bear markets, it hurts because, you drop like 85% of your net worth, especially if you're not selling anything. But it's also something that it took me 1 or 2 bull runs to actually realize this. And now I definitely am diversified a lot more. So now I would say I'm probably have like 30-40% in stocks and 30-40% in crypto, and then 10-20% in some other things still. and I kind of
Okay,
want
so
to keep it that way. I think so. Like, let's say if crypto will go up very quickly from now on, I will definitely sell more and put some more into stocks. I actually want to put a bit into real estate. So I think if we're going to see another bull market, I kind of want to put some in real estate.
Smart man.
But yeah, like I definitely still want to keep, or like earlier I was talking about like selling assets and stuff, and I don't really do that. I kind of more like rotate. I think rotating is kind of like what I would call it. Like, let's say indeed, like if one of my asset classes becomes much larger than the others, I would sell some of that, but then rotate into other things that I think will, or like can generate value or yield. Because I mean, if you're selling something and you hold dollars, I mean, you don't really want to have dollars. Dollars are a deflationary asset, so you don't really want to hold that unless maybe you like, of course, like you want to have some kind of fund for, like, let's say the next 1 or 2 years for sure. Or maybe if you're planning to make a big purchase or something, then yeah, it makes sense to hold on to some dollars. But if you're not really planning on doing that, then just keep it in other assets. I would say.
yeah, no, I agree with you. So since crypto is about 30 to 40% of your portfolio, it makes sense why you have less of an exit strategy and more of like a long-term position. So I can't speak for Nick, but for me, at the current moment, I pretty much am 100% cash. Probably, literally, a good reference. So I literally did not sign up for a 401k. I don't even have a 401k or a Roth IRA. I'm all into hoarding cash
Get
at the
one.
moment to buy the dip. Not yet, not yet. I'll get one if they get a Bitcoin spot ETF or something. Until then, I'm not going to. But I mean, there's more reasons why I don't have one at the moment. But that's how much conviction I have, at least short term, in crypto. But with that being said, since I have zero other assets, right, I have to strategically have an exit plan. So, like personally, I think like market sentiment is Solana hits under $10, right? So first exit strategy could be maybe $80, so an 8x, and obviously not take out everything, but maybe take out at least your principal. So spend X amount, wait for it to accrue, take your principal out. So now it's all, in gambling terms, it's all house money, right? It's like you walked away with your principal in hand, but now you have all this exposure in the markets. That's essentially my game plan short term. So I'm trying to accrue all or hoard as much cash as possible to make that happen. And then the other Nick, I don't know how many exit like take profit points you have, but I think I probably have maybe 4. Like one is straight principal, one is in terms of soul, right? I usually stray away from talking straight about these types of things, but I mean we've been talking about it almost all calls, so might as well go fully into it, right? So I think like 80, like buy single digits, whether that's like $7 or like $9, that doesn't really make too much of a difference to me. Um, First take profit is probably somewhere in that $80 to like $100 range. The next one would probably be around 160. Then after that, I would probably hold until all-time high, which would be another exit strategy. 'Cause I have almost pure conviction that we'll see all-time highs again for Solana. I know some people don't. That's a 10x from this. That's a 10x from now, from like 25ish. But from $10, that's a 25x. And then after that, whatever I do have in there, my next exit will probably be like $400-ish. And then after that, once I start taking screenshots, that's when I know it's time to get rid of everything.
Yeah, that's always the way. Like if you start taking
It's young
screenshots
blood.
and sharing it to your friends, you know you gotta go. I've done that twice and I didn't go, and yeah, it's always the perfect top indicator.
I still have a screenshot of when I had 147 ETH after that one day.
My God.
And 7 days later, it was worth 10 ETH. And then 7 days later, it was worth 3 ETH. And then 7 days later, it was 1.5. Exit strategies, man. I get what you mean with the principal. I mean, in my case, my principal's already out a long time ago. So, like, I'm in this peculiar case where 1% of I invested in total 1% of my net worth, but crypto today represents 30% of my net worth. And so my exits are, for example, my first exit into fiat is at previous all-time high. Like when Sol hits 250, that's when I'll take out 20% of my Sol into fiat. My next one is at about 400. And my next one is at 650. I've actually got my Excel out. That's why I know the numbers. And then it's at 1000. And of course, it's never at 1000. It's about it's 630 and then it's 970. You never take it out at exact numbers, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's my strategy. That's what I did. So previous bull run, I literally exited at the first all-time high, and then I did it again, and then I did it again, and then I did it again. We were talking about asset distribution. For me, it's more like 70% in normal assets and then 30% in crypto. That's simply because I invested early on in stocks and then in real estate. I always abide by one rule. I'll get a roof over my head, and then I'll think about investments. And in all honesty, I put pre-priced exit points for me because if I don't sell. Like if I don't have a price point which I abide to by the letter, I don't care if my feelings like it'll go higher. I will listen to that.
Yeah, I've learned you need a system. You need these set markers in place so your emotions cannot take over. You need to be disciplined. So for Solana, for me, right? Like how I said, my first take profit will be like $80 or so, maybe like $100. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy on an exchange, right? And then when I can take it out, I'm gonna take 80% of the Solana out and throw it in cold storage. The other 20% I'm gonna leave on the exchange, and then probably set the limit order right then and there for probably like 80-ish to 100. I'll once I get there, we'll figure that out. But I'll set it right then and there, so no matter what, when it hits, and I'm gonna try really hard not to cancel that order. Because that is the money that is essentially the principal and kind of like the safe haven, maybe like a safety net, where it's like, all right, I at least made all the money I put in, I can't lose. Everything else is just green from here. I do have a follow-up question for both of you, since we're on the topic. Do you guys have a quote-unquote retirement number in mind where you're like, if my net worth reaches this, I'm never going to work again? And when I say work and retirement, I don't mean like literally go like chill on the beach all day. I mean like retire as in like quit your 9 to 5 or only work on things you want to work and spend your time. Essentially, I mean financial independence, right? Financial freedom. Do you guys have a number in mind?
I hate that question. Yes and no. Yes, I have a number in the sense that it's so stupid, right? Because my number is just purely I want to be able to afford an education for my kids. I want to be able to not have to think about money, and I want to be able to make my future wife happy, right? And myself. Technically, that can be done with $1 million, right?
No, technically, maybe. Technically, yeah, but I don't think so. Millions is like nothing.
No, $1 million is a huge amount of money. It's nothing in the United States, but take $1 million, go to Thailand, and you will live the happiest fucking life you have.
Yeah, but do you want to live in Thailand, or would you rather live somewhere else?
I lived 4 years in Thailand. It was a great ass time. I love Thailand. Right. It's all about optics and habits. Someone who is in the net worth between 1 and 10 million will tell you, I need 25 million. Someone between 25 and 100 million will tell you, I need $1 billion. Why? Because I want to purchase a company, I want to buy a house, I want to be able to move more freely because I need travel independence, not only financial, but I need a jet. And then from there on and there on, you can always go higher just because you can get into a habit. So, yeah, of course, I can give you a number. I can tell you it's 105 million. I want to be able to buy a Manhattan apartment. I want to be able to have a Paris apartment. I want to be able to have a Singaporean house, which is black and white on the tops of Serangoon. I want to buy a Bali house where I can go when I take time off, and I want to be able to afford the best education. But that's completely just stupid because that is in so many ways just so materialistic and not needed. That will not contribute a single cent to my happiness. What will make me happy is even if I'm at a net worth of 1 million or 300K and I love the job I'm doing. My wife is happy. My kids are healthy, are going to classes. I don't have to think about, what is the next rent I have to pay, what is the next food I have to put on the table. And that's great. That's literally great. If I can pay holidays, that's even better. My financial freedom is the day that I don't have to think about the next 5 years ahead. That is, for me, my number. It's 5 years, right? If I don't need to have a sleepless night about my next 5 years, that is financial freedom for me. And that doesn't really have a number because it'll vary where I am, how I am, who I am, and what is happening. So that's why I say I hate the question because of course everyone has a number, but at the same time that number is meaningless, right? Like
Yeah, it's definitely super nuanced. So I think the way you approach that question is a little different than how I would approach it. So me personally, the way I look at it is how much money per year would I need to live a comfortable life? So like if I only made $40,000 a year, could I live off that? Yes, right? But would it be comfortable for me? Like I like traveling a lot, right? I mean, I'm not flying first class or anything, but I like traveling. I like staying in. I don't stay in 5-star hotels, right? I can do a 3-star hotel. So like I even 40K, I can't do that. 80K, yeah, I could probably do that. 100K, yeah, I could probably do that. So the lens I look at it through is how much money do I need to invest into, let's say, an index fund that appreciates on average like 7% a year, have a safe withdrawal rate of 4%. So if you have 2.5 million in this fund, that 4% is $100,000, give or take taxes, whatever. I could probably live off that. I could probably live off that amount. So 2.5 would be a good starting number for me, right? So that's kind of the scope that I approach it through. Obviously, it would be nice to have a house in Singapore and in Bali, right? But those are very, I think, unnecessary, right? Because you could, if you're not staying there for a long time, you don't really need a house there. Like maybe owning no houses and having the flexibility of traveling and renting an Airbnb might even be better monetarily or from like a
No,
headache standpoint. You don't
no.
think so?
Believe me, as someone who has spent his whole life traveling, there's nothing I enjoy more than being able to go somewhere I know I like.
How much is a house in Thailand or Bali? That like a house that yeah, how
Nice
much
house. Well,
yeah.
if you go to Kuta, then a good house would be around 3 million in Bali. If Singapore, a house is about 20 million.
Yeah, I know Singapore is
Uh,
super, super expensive.
in Thailand, you can have a nice house, not too far away from Phuket or Koh Samet or stuff like that for 300K, 250K. You can have a very nice house. Like we're talking a house for 4 people, right?
Yeah.
So like I totally get what you mean with you want to travel. I've been to over 50 countries. I've traveled literally since I'm 2 years old, right? Um, there is nothing I enjoy more than being able to go back to my family's residence somewhere and stay there for a week, right? That is
Yeah.
my happiness, right? Going to Tokyo in an Airbnb, then going to Kyoto in another Airbnb, that's a headache for me. I love to go visit. I'll go visit friends and I'll stay at their place and I'll do that. But that's discovery. But that's not happiness. There's
I get, yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. So I understand why that number for you is literally 105 million, whereas like the number I gave was 2.5 million in that case, right? So, yeah, I guess it is about life experience too. Like at the moment, like my actual number is probably 10 million. I think I would be perfectly fine with. And even with 10 million, I don't even know exactly what I would do with it. I think I would drop half of it, like 5 million, into some sort of index fund, right? Take that 4% safe withdrawal rate, use that as my salary that I live off of. That's the cash flow, right? And the other 5 mil, I don't know what I would do. Probably buy a supercar, buy a few watches, have
buy 10
everybody in like
million.
my family and friends, like immediate friends, buy them all super nice shit. Like, make sure everybody's taken care of. Like parents are retired, all that stuff. I think for me, that initial point is 10 mil, right? And then after that, and that's why I also use the word retirement loosely. I more so mean financial freedom where I don't have to like clock in at a 9 to 5 or something. I feel like that 10 mil is when it starts. And then afterwards, where I'm like, okay, I have 5 mil invested, but I also have this 5 mil in cash. What can I do with this to go try to make that 100 mil so I can go buy a house in every country that I want to visit?
And it never stops, so you're not financially free.
It's I get what you're saying, but I think personally, I think I would prefer traveling places and not owning any houses. I think I would prefer staying at a resort, like a 5-star resort, a few times a year in various different countries rather than spending 3 million on a house in Bali, for example. But I get what you're saying. If you don't, it literally never ends. But I think eventually, I think once you're disciplined, I mean, we're both fairly young, right? I'm 26, you're 27. Jonas, I'm not sure how old you are, but I guess
Yeah,
we'll get there when we get
just
there.
about the same age.
Jonas, what is your number? You've been awfully quiet. I feel like you already hit your number.
I mean, the thing is, like, I don't really have a number either. I think like I used to have a number, and but the thing is, like, what are you gonna do when you hit that number? Are you just gonna stop working? No, I mean, like, you always have to do something to stay busy. And actually, like right now, even though I think I am indeed like financially independent, but I still like to really, work quite a lot. Like I probably still, spend at least 5-6 hours a day on like things that I, want to work on, that I want to build on. And I really enjoy doing that. And I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Like, I don't think I am going to, like, yeah, I don't think there's any number where I'm going to be like, okay, like now I'm not going to do anything related to money. I'm just going to go to the beach. I'm going to just meet some friends. I'm going to travel. No, I mean, like, because all of these things, they're just kind of like, I'm not going to say meaningless, but like they give like
They're
temporarily, like,
they're
happiness
short-term
boosts or something.
gratification.
Yeah, exactly. And no, I just kind of want to do things. I want to build things. I want to maybe like something that I could see myself doing is like kind of like educate maybe other people or something. But even that, like I think I will always kind of like be busy doing things, and I'll never have a certain number where I'm like, okay, yeah, now I'm just gonna, start doing other things. Like I'm actually like really happy like what I'm doing right now with my life. And I don't think, like, let's say if I suddenly have like 10-20 million tomorrow, I don't think my life would change much at all, really.
No, I agree.
Man, you guys, I guess you guys have got me thinking on how I'm framing this question. So I guess really the retirement number for me more so is how much money do I need to quit my job and be able to spend my time how I want to spend it? Because obviously, yeah, I'm not gonna just go like kick my feet up at the beach. I'm gonna spend all of my time working on stuff that I am passionate about, or doing things like bro, I love sports, right? So I would accumulate a lot of my time to like working out, maybe boxing, MMA, some sort of stuff, playing sports. A lot of my time would get accumulated to that, but I would also spend countless amounts. Like I would deep dive more into crypto than I already am, right?
Then I
all
have
my
a
time would
question.
be spent on interest. So I guess that number really is more. So yeah. So Nick, you have a 9 to 5. How much money would you need to quit the 9 to 5?
I don't have a 9 to 5. I have a 9 to 2 a.m. uh, I have my own companies, so yeah, it's a 100-hour week, and there's no money that would allow me to quit. I love what I do, and I'm paid, and I pay myself pennies, right? Like,
Yeah. That's how that business stuff goes. Yeah. So I
oh,
guess you guys are two. I don't want to say bad people to ask that question to. I guess that question really is more tailored for people that don't have control of their time now. Because
Yeah.
when you do have a 9 to 5, you're not really in control, right? Like I have to wake up at 6:40 a.m. to shower, to get dressed, to go drive to work, to be at work, then come back. So I guess that number really is for people that don't have control of their time in terms of a career. But since you guys are both owning businesses, I mean, I do
Yeah.
like your answers though. I mean, it gave me more perspective and made me think about how I view that
Yeah.
question.
go ahead, Joe.
I mean, honestly, like, yeah, I want to say something. Like, I have a lot of friends who are kind of like living the same lifestyle as me, I guess, because a lot of my friends, especially from back in the days from poker, they kind of all are like doing their own thing now. Like, they all have their own business or something, and I think it's a bit like a combination of like what I and Nikki said, is that I think for I think most people, they would want to kind of manage their own time. So indeed, like, if you are not in that 9 to 5 job, if you are able to kind of like live life at your own terms, business wise, and you have like a safety fund of, like Nikki said, 5 years, I think I would want to have it a little bit higher, maybe like, let's say 10 years. If for like the next 10 years, I know I am set, like, let's say, if I work on my business and for like 10 years I don't have any income, if I can still live a comfortable life for 10 years, yeah, that's like all I need. Like, just kind of that, the freedom of setting your own time and not having to worry about, like, not just the near future, but like, quite a bit of the future. And that's all I really need.
I love that you mentioned the 5 years. There's a reason why I say 5 and not 10, is because you still need a part of, I don't want to call it anxiety, but a fear that you still need to work, and that fear turns into motivation, right? 10 years is a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For the human brain, if I tell you now you don't need to do a thing and you are fine for 10 years with a very nice lifestyle, do you know how bad that's going to hurt your motivation? But if I tell you now,
I don't know.
next 5 years you're good, you're kind of going to have next year in your head, oh shit, like 4 more years. Okay, that went by fast. 3 years. Oh shit. Okay, fuck. And that's gonna start getting your shit rolling. You have enough cushion.
You're building a sense of urgency. I think there's a rat experiment that demonstrates that exactly. They had rats in a box, controlled space. On one end they put cheese, right? So they put food for the rats. And a lot of the times when you first put it in there, they're reluctant to chase it. But then when you put a predator behind them, they run away instantly because there's now this sense of urgency. So if you have a 10-year safety net, I guess you really don't have that much of an urgency. So I understand the 5-year standpoint. But I also see the other point too, right? Because it's like, why be stressed out unnecessarily for some time if you are okay?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, indeed, like Nikki is right. Indeed, like that urgency, it definitely helps. And indeed, like, if it would be 5 for me, I would definitely would start to work harder, because indeed, I do feel like I need maybe, like a little bit of extra, backup, so to say. But I mean, I guess it all also kind of depends on like how uncertain you see the future. Like, for example, like I like to pick, the 10-year number, because especially right now, I think we live in a very kind of interesting time where I have no idea if I'll even be able to make money in 10 years. Like, we're gonna have like AI taking over, we're gonna have all of these things that are so uncertain. Like, I really kind of like want to have a very nice kind of backup savings. because maybe in like 10 years from now it will be very hard for me to even like be competitive, because maybe there'll be like a whole new younger generation with all these tools, or like maybe like the super rich that have all the kind of AI kind of be able to work for them while other people don't have access to it or something. That like these are things that I think about, and then like what, I don't think 5 years is enough. I think I need 10 years or more.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
But Cipher, I have a question for you then.
Of course.
You said before that you couldn't, you needed to do the 9 to 5, right?
Yep.
Which is just, I understand it. I did that for 4 years, right? While also pursuing my career. And I have a question for you then. If I gave you a job that fits exactly your passion, because you said you wanted to, retire to be able to follow your passions. You get to follow your passion, right, every day, but you're not paid exorbitant amounts. You're just, you've got a nice lifestyle. It's not luxurious. You won't be flying first class or business. You won't have a supercar. You won't have any of that. But every day, you will go to work with the biggest passion and the biggest love for what you do. Would you rather choose that? Or I tell you, you have your 10 million right now, and but you can't do that passion. Which one do you choose?
I'm choosing the second option, and I'll explain why. Okay, how do I frame
You
this?
contradicted yourself there.
No.
Previously.
When I explain, I think you'll understand, because you gave me an ultimatum, right? So I think you'll understand. The main reason why I even want to be rich now, I think, is like both my parents are immigrants, right? So they immigrated to America. I was born in America. I'm American, right? So they never had money growing up. So I think that kind of fueled me. So my mom still also works, right? So does my dad. So one of the main reasons why I want money is to retire them, so they never have to work again. So that's another reason why I feel like I live pretty frugally in my day-to-day. I do, like, every now and then, like, travel and spend money on stupid shit, but I feel like, bro, I'm in my 20s. Everybody does that, right? But for the most part, I do live pretty frugally. So if I had to choose between a passion, so essentially putting like my happiness first, I wouldn't choose that option. I would take the 10 mil, and then, because I feel like with 10 mil, you can build quote unquote generational wealth. And just the fact that like my parents would be taken care of forever, they would never have to work. With that 10 mil, I could have passive income streams that would raise enough money or raise enough cash flow where nobody had to work. All bills are taken care of. And I would choose that over the passion for sure.
Okay, very honorable. But you said something about 30 minutes ago, which was $1 million is nothing.
Yep.
Right. To my parents, 10 years ago, $1 million was not nothing. $1 million was a ginormous amount of money. Right. Like, if you had $1 million in front of you 10, 15 years ago, you were good. Like, you were already in the 1.5%. So, as you know, and you literally work in finance, so you know that the M2 money supply is going completely bonkers. You know that all the financial instruments are just showcasing that money has literally no value. So, what if in 10 years, 10 million is literally worth what today $1 million is worth?
Yeah, so I get your standpoint, right? So when I say 1 million is worth isn't that much, especially when you consider like previous, like the value of it years ago, right? So I think like 1 million 15 years ago is worth like 7 million now if you account for inflation. The thing is, like, this money that is generating the passive income, it would be in like an index fund or something, right? So index funds are inherently anti-inflationary assets, right? So if the dollar is not worth anything, the index fund itself is going to have more money. And instead of being able to take out 4% of 10 mil, right? If that whole 10 mil is in there, this index fund position now might be worth 15 mil or 20 mil or 30 mil, right? So it's like, I think it's a good inflationary hedge. So the amount of money, that 4% number, I think the ratio will always be 4%. The actual dollar amount will always change.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's not like I'm not putting it in like a CD or a bond where it's just 4% of the principal. No, like everything, the principal itself or the underlying asset is appreciating, and then I'm just taking off 4% from that. And I know you said if you like $1 million to your parents was a crazy amount of money. Don't get me wrong. If my parents heard me say that $1 million isn't shit, they would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, I want to reach across the computer and slap your fucking face. $1 million is a huge amount of money. Now, I know that
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If I had $1 million right now, I'd be insanely happy, insanely grateful. But it's also.
But you said it wasn't worth shit.
Framing it, hear me out though. Framing it as it not being worth anything makes me have a higher sense of urgency to chase more money.
Okay, but it also, in the same time, makes you devalue what money is worth.
I agree. Yeah, I might have. Obviously, I used that term very loosely earlier, but yeah, no, you have a point. But
Like,
in terms of retirement, though, in the context that we were speaking, I do think $1 million by itself isn't worth much when it comes to purely retiring. Because even if you throw that into an index fund, right, which is a super safe investment, 4% is only $40K a year. You're not really doing anything, and that's as safe as it gets. If I took $1 million and wanted to do something riskier, $1 million is a lot of money, but in terms of retirement, where I feel like every asset that you invest in should be super safe and not risky, I feel like $1 million isn't all that much.
it's all about perspective, honestly. We can turn around this question 1,000 times, but
It's super good.
I lived in the US, and I agree, $1 million is shit in the US. And I lived in Asia, and $1 million is not shit in Asia.
Yo, bro, I've been in.
like,
I went clubbing in Asia before. I mean,
Did you see Joenaes?
No, I did not see Joenaes. I don't think so, unless he was in some random club in India where I was spending 30 USD to pop bottles, which I thought was a bargain because I'm from New York, so New York is vastly different.
Yeah, I didn't do that in India, but I did pop a lot of bottles in the Philippines. Yeah, for also $20, $20.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
Crazy times.
Let's just go to China. Pop bottles for free.
That's funny, but yeah.
Guys, I think I'm gonna need to head off soon. It's getting like 2:30 here, so getting pretty tired.
I was just about to say we're going on to an hour and 45. So we didn't talk too much about Aurory or Aurorians all that much.
True.
So we should probably do another episode where we have more structure to it. But I definitely enjoyed the conversation for sure, and I feel like we're going to be in. I feel like we'll have more conversations in the near future, anyways. But do you guys have any closing remarks? Anything you guys want to end off with?
Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, I was gonna say, not really. I mean, I just kind of want to thank you, for having us here, and it was very nice to chat with you. And like no real closing remarks. I mean, it's just it's always fun to talk to different people about like the things we talked about finance, about goals. It's always cool to hear everyone's opinion. So
yeah, I definitely want to thank you.
That.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I want to thank you guys as well, and I hope you guys don't mind the lack of structure. Because
no, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I prefer conversations like this, even though they might lead to somewhere we don't want them to. The organic route is always my preferred choice.
It is, and as closing for me is probably, if there's one thing that 3 random ass people across the world highlights is to each their own levels of ambition, to each their own levels of profit taking. We're in an industry where things are very volatile, things go very fast up, very fast down. Listen to your conviction, put yourself, certain barriers and certain markers in place. Abide by them. Follow your conviction plays. For me and Joenaes, it was Aurory Cipher. You've also got some, so it was Aurory. But yeah, do your own due diligence. And thank you very much, Cipher, for having us on board. I don't know.
Thank you guys again. Appreciate you guys being on. I hope we get to talk soon. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, man. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, bye-bye.